Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, plays the Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. Everything A-okay, going fine, 8 wins in a row, new keyboard still. No, I will not. Her 3. Wow, that dude, I can't. Joaquin, fresh off of the Joker, setting October box office records, skips Her 2, the sequel to Her, goes straight to Her 3, which also looks like Here, written in Leet speak. More power to you, Joaquin. Is there anything he can't do? I gotta tell you. Today's Sunday. I did see Joker last night. Originally, I wasn't gonna talk about it that much. But I mean, it just started with it was right there. There was some hanging fruit. I'm gonna tell you right out of the gate. I'm not gonna bury the lead. If you saw Joker, if you loved it, liked it, if it affected you, more power to you. I didn't enjoy it that much. That's where it came down to for me. And look, it's not my first day on the internet. You know, I've been on the other side of this as a younger man. If you love something and somebody else says, I didn't really like it at all, there's a lot of dismissiveness. Dismission? Is that a real word you could use? To, you know, kind of hand-wave the criticism, because it's not likely that something you love could also be disliked or not enjoyed that much by somebody else. Oh, you didn't get it, you haven't read the source material, you haven't suffered the same things that the Joker has suffered in his life as a result, you don't know what empathy is in this situation. No, it's, you know, I understand. Trust me, I got the movie. It's from the director of The Hangover. Unless I'm missing some Easter eggs you need a bright red arrow pointing to on a YouTube thumbnail. I picked up on it, but just wasn't for me. And I gotta tell you, I did go in with an open mind. And you could go listen to NLSS's over the past week. You know, I was not one of those people that was like, hey, the clown movie's out. You guys want to go see the clown movie? We live in a society, blah, blah, blah. I was like, hey, if you haven't seen the movie, shut up. Now I've seen the movie. I still want to shut up. But again, you know, if you enjoyed it, more power to you. You know, I'm not invested in the cultural war over the Joker. I wish that it's literally in our entire relationship. Kate and I now have 2 movies where we disagree completely, because she liked the movie a great deal. One of them is Joker. She loved it, and I didn't really like it. And then the other one is Coco, and I'm hesitant to even tell you this because I know that I'm in the popular side of this one, and it's kind of throwing my wife under the bus, but she thinks Coco is garbage, and I think it's great. That's, you know, the Pixar movie. I know, the heartfelt one about what it means to be family, and, you know, like, that's the one. I know. I'm not trying to deflect criticism. If you want to be mad at me for not enjoying the Joker, I'd encourage you to take a look at the, you know, things you could do with your life today instead of being upset about that. But apart from that, I'll own it. I did tweet, bro, Joker was A, where A is a word for a part of the human body where S comes out of. Not that S, the brown S. You know what you know what I mean? I shouldn't have done that. I should have been more nuanced in my criticism, but I knew what I was doing at the same time. I was like, this'll get people mad. Ooh, my mentions. It was a base impulse. Anyway, I did see Joker, but you know what? Joker, despite not liking it, was not the movie I enjoyed the least that I saw this weekend, and this is how we pivot. This is how we pivot. This is how we pivot. I have a fascination, and this is clearly, I mean, a lot of people do. It's not just me. But I have a fascination with absolutely terrible movies. And the fascination is, I don't want to say it's complicated, because it's not, but it's on a different level, you know? I feel like the base level of movie going, when you go see something that you think is going to be great, is like, this will be entertaining. There's almost something cerebral about going to see a movie you know is absolutely terrible. It raises so many more questions. The big question, of course, is how on earth did this get made? You know, how did it get past? How did it pass muster with all these people that were involved with it, that have been involved with better projects, that should have known better, blah blah blah. So anyway, it's on Amazon Prime. I watched Michael Myers' film, The Love Guru. I watched the first half of it. And then from that point onwards, I said, I don't know if I want to finish this. But I might finish it tonight, because it's just... It's just such an unfathomably unfunny movie that I really can't do anything but recommend it. There's... I mean, just to... first off, I mean, it came out in a slightly different time, but Mike Myers does do sort of, like an Indian accent through the whole movie. Which is a little, you know, in 2019 you wouldn't have the same level of, I don't know if I'd say he got away with it, for the record, but, you know, either way, it would come under more scrutiny, let's put it that way. But just absolute, there's so many, watching this movie in 2019, it is stunning how many talented people are in this unfunny disaster. You know, Stephen Colbert, he's in the movie. Mike Myers, not a surprise, he plays every character. Jim Gaffigan is in the movie. Justin Timberlake is in the movie. John Oliver is in the movie. And John Oliver in this movie is just absolutely horrible. I mean no disrespect, but he in particular, I'm not saying he has a lot to work with, but he is just an absolute disaster. And of course Vern Troyer, but you know, you're kind of like, you know, maybe he's paying Mike Myers a favor for his incredibly sensitive role of Mini-Me in the last two Austin Powers movies. I'm struggling to describe how bad it is, but it's just like literally, the whole movie is like 95% Mike Myers saying a terrible pun and then looking at the camera. And then the other, like, you know, whatever percent is just stuff that is only funny if you're like 10 years old. Like, there's no jokes, it's just all punchlines, if that makes sense. I know that might sound good, because you're like, hey man, the punchline, that's where all the good stuff is. But some of the best jokes, they come from, like, building a moment, right? They come from setting a scene that, you know, pays off in some way. Like, here's a good example, okay? And it's an example of how you can be crass but funny at the same time. And I'm going to go to bat for a movie that might not actually be that well-liked anymore. But I'm going to go to bat for the 2010 movie Bridesmaids, okay? There is a scene in that movie where one of the lead character in the movie, she takes, you know, the bridal party out to dinner at like I think a Brazilian steakhouse or something like that. But people are like, this is a little sketchy, are you sure it's okay? And she's like, yeah, it's delicious. And then, you know, after they eat there, and they're all like, it's delicious, they go out to a super fancy bridal wear shop. They're getting ready to try on dresses and stuff like that. And, you know, spoilers, is pretty cerebral. They all have explosive diarrhea and vomiting, okay? It's a gross bit, but they build the moment over like 8 or 9 minutes of runtime. The Love Guru, on the other hand, shows a scene of Vern Troyer sitting on a pillow, and he just, out of nowhere, says, if I sit like this any longer, I'm gonna tear my dink bag. That's the difference. If you don't like Melissa McCarthy, almost every line uttered by a character in The Love Guru is like an out-of-context line of her character from Bridesmaids. That's a good way to think about it, I think. The only character, and this is a very, it's the way Mike Myers, Canadian treasure, by the way, writes his movies, but the only character who has a shade of reality, you know, in their portrayal at all is Jessica Alba, who, yeah, again, the movie asks you to buy into the collective delusion that nobody understands how ridiculous the premise is. And like, even the plot of the movie just doesn't make any sense. And I know you're taking it too seriously. I'm not though. Like I like a lot of trash. I like some trash ironically and some trash unironically. But this is just like, the plot of the movie is like, okay, you know, there's this amazing hockey player on the Toronto Maple Leafs called Darren Roanoke, okay? But he was having some marital troubles. His wife left him for the Los Angeles Kings goalkeeper, Jacques Lecoq-Grand, played by Justin Timberlake, and as a result, he's lost his scoring touch. So the premise of the film is, I mean, there's competing motivations, okay? Mike Myers plays Guru Pitka, the second most popular guru in India, constantly befuddled in his efforts to surpass Deepak Chopra. And then Jessica Alba plays the owner of the team, who desperately wants to win the Stanley Cup so the men in Toronto will stop hating her, so that she can actually find a husband. I know, it doesn't make any sense. I feel the need to point out, like, I get this is a movie is like rated R. I mean, it's probably PG-13, but it's crass. And yet it expects you to believe that Jessica Alba couldn't find a husband because she owns a hockey team. In fact, the most popular hockey team in the world. It's I don't take yourself so seriously, NL, but it just doesn't make sense. It's just, you know, oh hey, I've got to get 3 quarts of milk so the space aliens don't blow me up. You know, if you're gonna say that, like, if you're gonna just have an arbitrary plot device, you know, we're gonna stop requiring it to pass even the most basic level of scrutiny. This isn't like a ding, you know, hey, they hit the up button for the elevator, but the elevator approaches from the bottom. You know, it's not one of those. It's like, it just fundamentally makes no sense. Anyway, that's basically, that's where we're at. So I've watched like half of The Love Guru so far. If you love, to be honest, if you love movies that are so bad they're good, there's a chance you've already seen it. It's one of the more notorious ones in recent memory. And honestly, really, really, really bad comedies are probably the best bad movie to watch, except for maybe bad action movies. Because you laugh at the fact that a joke doesn't get any laughs. Like when a drama is bad, it's got to be bad in a special way. It's got to be like The Room bad, you know, in order for you to get a lot of enjoyment out of it. But for a comedy to be bad, it just, you know, you just have to recognize that nobody laughing at the jokes is funny. They also, I mean, they just beat the same joke to death over and over. Like, you know, there's this television actress, Mariska Hargitay. And they introduce each other at the Guru Pitka ashram. They introduce each other by saying, Mariska Hargitay, Mariska Hargitay, Mariska Hargitay to you as well, you know? The idea being that it sounds like, you know, I don't know, it's some kind of like solemn Hindu greeting or something like that. It's just bad. But like, if they did the joke once, you might be like, I get it. They do the joke like 50 times, and then Mariska Hargitay shows up at some point, and you're like, yeah, no, I got it. It's just not good. The problem was never that the joke wasn't repeated enough for me to understand it. Anyway, I would recommend it. If you've already watched all the recent John Travolta movies on Amazon Prime Video, consider watching The Love Guru. It's a classic. I have to imagine that most of the people involved with it are pretty embarrassed. I mean, the legacy of this film is, you know, well understood. It may have actually killed the career of Mike Myers. I mean, the whole movie is the worst part, and I don't even like Austin Powers 2 or 3 that much. I think 3 especially is really bad. 2 is like okay. The first one is, in my opinion, borderline comedy classic. I'll go on record as saying that. I'm not afraid. Oh, that's very convenient. But it's just like there's scenes that are just basically taken from Austin Powers. Where, you know, he's doing yoga and then he shoves his head up his own butthole. Yeah, okay. That's really, in a way, you almost have to admire it. That, like, Mike Myers, he's made so many movies where there are bits about, you know, things getting shoved in his butt. That's not, like, something that he's just done on film a couple of times. That's like the spirit of his comedy. Like, he turns to Heather Graham and is like, okay, so there's gonna be a shadow appearing on the side of the tent wall, and it's gonna look like you're hammering a watermelon into my butthole. You're like, really? Again? Yeah. The audience goes crazy. Look, I like Mike Myers, but I think that's just because I've always thought that I liked Mike Myers, and then as I've gotten older and I've watched, you know, even more of his movies apart from Austin Powers, I've started to think, like, why? Oh, he doesn't get credit for Shrek, okay? The writers get credit for Shrek. He's a voice actor, don't get me wrong. Maybe he wrote a little bit of Shrek. I wouldn't. He's definitely written a little bit of Drek, if you know what I mean. You can look that up if you're curious what the term means. It's the brown S that comes out of your A. If you know what I mean. Anyway, so Joker, not my scene. But if you enjoyed it, I'm glad. You know, in this house, we stand reasonable disagreements. As long as you don't think I'm like a cold, unfeeling husk of a human being for not liking Joker, I don't think that you're, you know, I'm not going to even say what character judgment I would say there for thinking that it's a masterpiece. You have to admire that we definitely have enough HP. We definitely have enough HP. You have to admire that, and we'll just head down to the next floor. I want to remove my curse just so I can see how close I am to Horror of Babylon status. Okay. Little spiced, but I think it's worth it. 92 rate of fire, huh? You know, we can get along here. Yeah, what I was going to say is you have to admire the fact it would have been pretty easy, I think, to just make like a very perfunctory Joker origin story. And what they did instead, you can tell they believed in their vision. They went for it. Joaquin Phoenix leaves it all out there. Just because it didn't work for me. It's like baseball, you know? Sometimes if you're taking a big cut, you're either going to hit a home run or you're going to strike out swinging, you know? And for me, they struck out swinging. They didn't leave anything on the table there. Dude, I don't know. I think we should actually go to full HP. I'm a little nervous about our HP right now. This is helpful, though. So I respect that. It was an interesting time at the movies. By the way, I don't know, in case you're... Not that you need me to tell you that the movie is very popular. It's been out for a week. Our theater was absolutely packed. Like, full 300, maybe even more seat movie theater. 1 week after release. Oh, don't walk into the fire. It's not the first time I've ever seen that, but it's, you know, is pretty big for an October release, no doubt about it. Also, like, when I was seeing the trailers, normally, I gotta tell you, apparently it's a movie episode today, by the way, so prepare yourself. Normally when I see a trailer, it's one of the things I pride myself on. My superpower... Yikes. My superpower is not flying, it's not X-ray vision, healing factor, bone claws, etc., etc. My superpower is being able to see a trailer and recognize from that trailer with 95% accuracy whether or not the movie's going to be any good. And I gotta tell you, I hit my kryptonite in front of Joker. There were many trailers, yo, that's so helpful, that we watched them, and I had no idea how the movies were going to turn out. I'll run it down the list, okay? There are exceptions. This is like the 15th time I've seen the trailer, or a trailer, because there's different ones, but for Rian Johnson's Daniel Craig-led ensemble cast whodunit Knives Out. That movie, you cannot tell me that movie is not gonna slap. I would put a certified dark green danger indicator on that. Dark green danger equals no danger. Yo, this should be interesting. That movie is gonna be, yikes. Maybe we'll just use a bomb here. That movie, I believe, is going to be good at worst. But apart from that, so this is the first time I ever saw the trailer for Doctor Sleep, the sequel to The Shining that I really can't believe anybody asked for. And I went into it being like, you know, I get it. Like you bought the rights to the Stanley Kubrick filmography or something. And, you know, now you gotta use it. But after watching the trailer, I was kind of like, you know what? If you told me Doctor Sleep was gonna be an 8 out of 10, I would believe you fully. If you told me Doctor Sleep was going to be a 3 out of 10 and it was going to be a complete disaster, I would also believe it. That trailer, in my opinion, means it could go either way. Zombieland Double Tap, it's throwing me for a loop. By the way, I had a revelation on a personal level. Recently, I talked about, you know, movies I saw in the theater twice. I neglected to mention, mostly because it had just slipped my mind, I have also seen Zombieland in theaters twice, back in 2009. I saw it with my friends, and then, like, I think it was in the summer. My parents were like, hey, do you want to go see a movie? And I was like, sure. And they were like, would you want to go see Zombieland? And I was like, I already saw it, but I'll see it again. Thought Zombieland is a good movie. Now I do wish I'd taken blank card, but that's okay. But Zombieland 2, I'm like, it's been 10 years. The zombie thing is not as popular as it was back then, so the satire seems like less necessary, and I don't know, the punchlines in the trailer don't fully hit, but, you know, I was kind of surprised the first time when Zombieland was good. So if Zombieland 2 turns out, then I wouldn't be surprised. But I could definitely see it going either way. Then there was Christopher Nolan's teaser for Tenet. And I'll just go out on a limb. I know that it is both in vogue to dislike Christopher Nolan and in vogue to like Christopher Nolan. He's a director people have opinions about. And because people have opinions about him, other people have opinions based on the people that have opinions about him. What I mean by that is, people don't always judge Christopher Nolan by the quality of his movies. Instead, they judge Christopher Nolan by the quality of the people that defend him on Reddit and say that he's the best film director of all time. That being said, I have enjoyed every single one of Christopher Nolan's films. The only one I don't really like is The Dark Knight Rises. Don't Shoot the Messenger. And I thought Dunkirk was okay. I think people like Interstellar for sure. But I think I like it more than average. Everybody loves The Dark Knight. I kind of like Batman Begins a little less than average, but I still like it. Love Insomnia, love Memento. I love Inception. People, I feel like Inception, I'm not going to say it's gotten a raw deal, because that's absolutely nonsense, but I feel like, when it came out, people were like, this is one of the most inventive, action science fiction films of all time. And then, it's kind of undergone like a revision. Hey! As time has gone on, I have no bombs. This is very scary, this room. People are now like, it's got problems, but it's okay. I'm still like, I'm in the camp where I'm like, I missed the memo on people starting to not be huge fans of this movie. I still like it a lot. Anyway, the point is, the teaser for Tenet shows you absolutely nothing. But, I mean, if anything, it just reinforces my central point, right? I believe, like, you know, that movie. If you were like, this is where Christopher Nolan jumps the shark, I'd be like, I mean, I can't say no, based on the fact that the trailer tells you absolutely nothing. And if you were like, this is going to be another classic Christopher Nolan action movie, I'd be like, I believe it. The one that's really throwing me for a loop, dude, is Star Wars. And I'll tell you, I don't want to... Star Wars is a contentious subject in today's day and age. But I don't resent it. Resent is a strong word. But the teaser, or trailer, I guess, because it was like a minute and a half long, in front of Joker, literally opens with a montage of, like, fan favorite moments from the first 8 main series Star Wars movies. And I just saw, oh dude, we need the flies are gonna be so good here. I just sort of like, I get it, Disney, I mean, I saw The Lion King in theaters, like, you know, approximately 400 million other people. So I'm not taking all the heat on that one. I get, like, the nostalgia play, but that's just so brazenly, like, hey, you've seen the other 8 movies, this is the last one, you might as well show up. And that plus, you know, the laugh that is a reveal in that teaser, you know what I'm talking about. Just makes me be like, it undermines some of my faith in that movie. That being said, if there's any director you can trust to at the very least make a decent movie, it's got to be J.J. Abrams, you know? Actually, believe it or not, I watched like a third of The Force Awakens last night because it was on TV as well. Apparently, it was a very movie-rich weekend for me. And when I was watching it, I was like, yeah, no, like, the criticism that everybody levies against The Force Awakens is definitely valid. It is kind of just the older Star Warses again. Like, there's a lot of quote-unquote rhyming elements. And that's, I think it's being generous to call them rhymes instead of, you know, fan service. But not all fan service is necessarily bad. But it does some cool stuff as well. Like, it dawned on me, you know, given a little bit of extra time since the movie has come out, the scene at the start of that movie where, you know, you get the perspective of the stormtroopers on their way, you know, down to, like, raid a planet. That's a really, I wouldn't necessarily call it inventive. That's a little much, but it's a cool scene to kind of, like, add a little roundedness to the tone of Star Wars, you know? Because previously, in most of the Star Wars movies up to this point, you know, the delineation between good and evil is pretty simple. I know it sucks because, like, a central theme of the prequels is like, you know, hey, that kid, he's Darth Vader, but now he's just a small fry. But, like, they don't handle it with the nuance that would have benefited it the most, I believe. You know, instead it's just kind of like, be evil. No. Yeah, well, you can save your wife. Okay, sure. Where do I sign? I gotta be careful. I already took like a controversial stance on the Joker by saying I didn't really like it. I don't want to get myself in trouble, but I was kind of having this conversation with Kate. Because there was like a Star Wars movie marathon on TV. And I was like, how much less cultural influence do you think that Star Wars would have had? And I'm saying this as somebody who enjoys them decently. How much less influence do you think those movies would have had if they didn't have the composing genius of John Williams? Because even, like, you know, The Phantom Menace is the most obvious example. But, I mean, the franchise was already popular by that point. But everyone's like, yeah, the Phantom Menace sucks pretty bad, but Duel of the Fates, though. Literally, that movie is like... And maybe pod racing, depending on your perspective. I will not take hemolacria here. It scares the crap out of me. But literally, the popular internet consensus about the Phantom Menace is that basically John Williams made that movie watchable, and I disagree with that wholly. Not because I dislike John Williams. I think the Duel of the Fates music is fantastic. However, I think that movie is unsavable. I've seen it 2 or 3 times since becoming an adult, and I think people always They always forget that they're like, oh, that lightsaber duel between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn is so good. You don't remember that it's interspersed with Jar Jar Binks tripping over his own shoelaces and accidentally, like, you know, defeating the battle droids, and then, you know, Jake Lloyd spinning around in his spaceship, accidentally destroying, like, galactic cruisers and stuff. Anyway, if you have a fan edit that edits that all together into one scene, more power to you. But anyway, the music is really good. But even then, like, I was watching, you know, it was like Return of the Jedi, and at the end of the movie, there's like, the Ewoks are dancing with C-3PO, you know, just a bunch of people in, like, furry costumes dancing with this uptight robot. And I was like, man, this is garbage. And then it goes dun 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 dun, dun, and like my eyes started to water, and I was like, never mind, it's genius. it's so beautiful. It really touches upon what it means to be a human in a galaxy far, far away. I'm telling you, John Williams gets a lot of credit, but I think I'll give him even more credit than the average, perhaps. I think it's the same with the trailer, you know? It's not fair to say, like, oh, if you stripped away the trailer, or if you stripped away the music, it wouldn't have the same impact. Because that's true for pretty much every movie of all time. If you stripped away, you know, the Avengers theme from some of the pivotal moments in the Avengers, it wouldn't have the same impact either. But I'm just saying, like, in terms of... John Williams, even during that trailer where I was... Like, I'm not even that big of a Star Wars fan. Which is to say I've seen, you know, all of the movies, like, probably, like, 2 to 10 times each. But still, I've also been on this planet for a while. What planet? Coruscant. But, so when they were hitting me with the nostalgia teaser for episode 9, I was like, man, this is just meant to, like, nostalgia bait you. I'm above this, Disney. Come on. And then I was like, this is the greatest story told in my lifetime. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. Hope you enjoyed the Joker as well. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I will see you next time. See ya!